Wyatt begins in like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Wyatt, and I'm your host, Wyatt O'Brien Evans. Grrr, woof, goddammit, woof, woof, woof. Now, before I dive into the show, we gotta recognize something. June is designated as LGBTQ Pride Month. We have come a long way since Stonewall, that seminal turning point in the fight for LGBTQ rights. Black and brown people have played such a crucial part in why the LGBTQ community has come so far. Therefore, Black and brown people have left a powerful and indelible mark on the progress of the movement. However, as we LGBTQ folk of all races and ethnicities celebrate our many achievements, we cannot afford to rest on our laurels. We must continue the fight for inclusion, diversity, and equality. My listeners. Today's Wyatt is the first installment of a 2-part show about a serious and growing societal issue, and that is domestic violence abuse, sexual violence, and intimate partner violence and abuse, its acronym being IPVA. Within the LGBTQ community, domestic violence and abuse is known as intimate partner violence and abuse, or IPVA. I have the distinct pleasure of welcoming as our special guest one of the leading national subject matter experts in domestic violence, abuse, and sexual violence. This professional is going to give us a fuller and deeper understanding of what this horrific, destructive, and potentially life-threatening cycle of abuse and violence is, and the ramifications and impact. Let me tell y'all, our special guest is one bad mama jamma. And we'll get to her post-haste. And after the show, visit my online home, WyattEvans.com. That's WyattEvans.com. The go-to destination for LGBTQ news, features, commentary, and entertainment. WyattEvans.com is visited by more than 100 countries on the regular. All I can say to that is, yeah, baby. And at WyattEvans.com, you'll find my smoking hot, Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. And the current installment is titled Frenzy! As I always say, yes, frenzy. Frenzy is just replete with masculine romance, intrigue, danger, and the blazing heat of a zillion thousand suns up in the universe of erotic passion and steaming nastiness. A program note, my often on sidekick, Madam Pussy Galore, Cock-a-doodle-doo, drag queen supreme, will not be with us today. She's upset in a big way, and she decided not to make it into the studio today. Oh, well. Okay, today's show is part 1 of a 2-parter. And this is a really special treat for me, and I'm both excited and privileged to welcome our very, very special guest. Now, let me give you the resume here. All right. With nearly 30 years of service, this professional is a leading national subject matter expert in domestic violence, abuse, and sexual violence. She is a celebrated and renowned authority who's authored several books on this cycle of dysfunction. And her work reaches victims and survivors who seek critical information and healing. Now, y'all, if her dance card ain't full enough, get a load of this. She is a source for professional and grassroots advocates and activists who wish to help others utilizing methodology that is empathetic, compassionate, and demonstrate a high level of cultural appreciation and respect.
Yes.
And as an activist and advocate, her work also can be found on online platforms she created, with WeSurviveAbuse.com being one of the most sought after. Now, this lady is a soldier in the fight against domestic violence, abuse, and sexual violence, and also intimate partner violence and abuse. And she's a true, authentic change agent. And along with all of that, she has her own compelling story to share with us. And most importantly, I'm honored to call her a dear and special friend.
Yes.
Now, as Michael Jackson used to say, Tito, give me a tissue. Now,
Funny. Wyatt, thank you so much. This is an honor.
I haven't even finished yet.
Oh, come on. I'm sorry. My apologies.
No, listen, this is wonderful. I just want the audience to know that I was just kidding about tissue. Give me a tissue. Tito, give me a tissue. So without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Tonya G J Prince. Talk at me. How are you?
I am doing great, and I am honored to speak with you. I'm honored to speak with your listeners today. I mean, this is really exciting for me. Thank you very much for the invite.
Listen, it's my pleasure. You know, Tanya, I've been wanting to do this for a while, but you know what? You have such a busy schedule.
I'm sorry.
Well, you know what, Tanya? You really should be. But you know what? I got much love for you, baby.
Oh, that means everything to me. Everything, everything. Seriously, everything. Because oh my God, the respect is so it's mutual. I have so much respect for your body of knowledge, what you do, your enthusiasm, and your commitment, man. Wow. And your books. I love, oh my gosh, we can talk all day. I love what you do. I love how you do it. Thank you.
Listen, I thank you in all seriousness. And you know what? You know, Tanya, it is so important that we continue to shine the hot white light of awareness on this urgent societal issue, you know, in the hopes that victims can make their great escape. And that's a term that I've coined for my national seminars and workshops. And, you know,
I like that.
domestic. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry. I like that.
You can't have it.
You know how we do.
Yeah.
We're sharing.
I'm sorry. I ain't sharing that one. But that's okay. I might listen. I might do it.
Okay.
But anyway, now let me ask you this right off the jump.
Sure.
Okay, Ms. Prince, precisely what is the driving force for and the impetus behind your education, awareness, activism, and advocacy work in domestic violence and abuse and sexual violence?
Great. Thank you. I think about that often. I'm asked that often, as a matter of fact, because it's beyond my experience. Certainly I pull from my experience. But one of the terms that we as a society often say, someone is being a voice for the voiceless. And I don't believe that anyone is voiceless. I don't believe that. I believe that we don't listen. We don't hear. Right. And we don't pay attention sometimes, Yeah. And I guess that's my driving force, that I want people to be heard. I'm allergic to silence around, issues that I am around issues that are impacting people. I do not like that. I know what that feels like, and I'm not that way anymore. However, I know that there are millions of people out there from different demographics who feel silenced and shut down. And that's my driving force.
And Tanya, silence is the most potent weapon in the arsenal of the abuser.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Please say that. I think, like you said, it's not their physical, whatever physical abilities they may have, or it's not even really the position of power. It's the fact that whatever they have, they use whatever they have, whatever they don't have, to keep a person silent.
Yeah.
To keep a victim silent.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Speaking of silence, you have several online platforms that I consider indispensable resources for both victims and survivors. So please tell us all about them.
Well, I started... WeSurviveAbuse.com was really keeping in with that whole thing of, I definitely felt there were certain people who weren't being heard, and not just as victims and survivors. I have a passion for people to know that non-traditional folks are doing this work, and oftentimes we're the leaders in this work. So we're talking about Black folks, we're talking about queer, we're talking about people from different religious backgrounds, people from, all of those folks who oppress, various races, all of the. I wanted people to know people have been standing up and leading this thing for a long time. Right. And I thought that was being missed, that even when people sometimes were doing, that was one of my positions in the past, in fact, to do outreach. To do outreach to victims and survivors is one thing, because you want to help people. It's a whole nother thing to listen to people who are leading and have the expertise.
Right. I want to say right now, I really appreciate your support, because you are an African-American heterosexual woman.
Well, you know what? That's one of I reveal a lot about me, and I just don't reveal that.
Right. Well, the reason why I say that is I am an openly gay, same gender loving man.
I love that.
Right. Absolutely. And
I love that about you.
Oh, thank you, Tanya.
It is. I mean, I'm sorry, it is.
And, the reason why I bring it up is because, let's face it, you have some women, some African-American women who are straight heterosexual, who just cannot
crossover.
Understand.
I get you.
Right. So that's why I wanted to say that, I wanted to bring that out. I wanted the audience to know it, because I'm telling you, LGBTQ people need allies.
Right. No, you're correct. And that's, I always say, when we're talking, because we got to talk about expertise and leadership. And that's something I'm firm on. You can't be trying to run every lane. You got to drive your lane. So I get what you're saying. Yes, primarily because I consider that my lane. I more often speak to Black women. That does include lesbians, bisexual. But like you said, it's women and girls primarily. So therefore, I'm going to have to connect and hold hands with people who are leading in other ways and share the mic. If other people aren't listening to them, I put them on your platform where they are listening. so
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I believe that the only way to end sexual violence, end domestic violence, is for everyone to, to be heard.
Absolutely. Now, before we take a deep dive into this dysfunctional, horrific, and potentially life-threatening cycle of abusive behavior, and before you share your experience with us, it is now time to take your hand, so that we can together.
You lucky I trust you. You know you are a very trustworthy person. I appreciate that about you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you saying that. But as I was saying, it is now time for me to take your hand so that we can just travel through the corridors of time.
Sure.
So we can find out your backstory.
Absolutely understood. What would you like to know?
Let me see. Well, let's start with where were you born and raised?
You know, I was born in North Carolina, actually.
Wow.
Raised, but not raised there. Spent a lot of time being raised in, all over New Jersey, various parts of New Jersey, but ultimately settling. I'm a country girl, Petersburg, Virginia.
Okay. Cool. Okay.
Yes, country girl. I mean, I claim it. I'm a Southern girl.
Okay.
So ultimately, that is mostly where I grew up.
Siblings?
Yes, I have two siblings. Yeah, they're both younger than I am.
Oh, so you're the oldest, huh?
I am the boss.
Oh, listen, that's where that came from. Okay.
Can't you tell? I'm bossy. No, I claim it. I'm bossy. And if I'm around friends, you do it to me too. They have to kind of remind me, we're friends here.
Well,
I'm sorry. Hey, I'm like, all those years of, you being the head of everything, it just doesn't go away magically.
Absolutely. And you know what? That's understandable. Really, it is. Well, you know what? It's important to have that quality for your work.
I agree. I hadn't thought about that. Man, okay, I'm going to ponder that later. I like that.
And I'm not going to charge you for that insight either.
You crack me up.
Okay. Now, you know what?
Sure.
Some of my guests know the question I'm going to ask, and they're actually a little scared for me to ask it.
Sure.
And I don't get it. And I always get a blast out of asking the question, and here it is. Tanya. Tanya. What were you like as a little girl? What three characteristics or qualities best described you?
Oh, goodness. Right off the bat, we already got one. Bossy. I was definitely bossy. Yeah. Oh, I was bossy. Creative. I like to do plays. I like to do skits. I like to dance. I like to sing in the microphone. I like to perform. And also, I'm proud to say I was nerdy. I was a bookworm. I was, yep. I love that classification. I was definitely nerdy.
Right. Me too.
Oh, cool. Yeah, right. It was a cool it didn't feel so cool all the time, but when you get older, you're like, that was pretty cool. Especially when you connect with other people who were nerds.
You know what? I hadn't thought of it that way, but you're absolutely right.
Because we've often read similar things. We've done similar things. So it's like you find your tribe as you grow up. And that's cool.
Ah, okay. That makes a lot of sense.
And no offense to Native American folk. I hope that wasn't offensive.
Okay, good. So you've already,
Yeah, because you don't know. But I'm you know what? I teach, but I'm also teachable.
Right. Okay, cool. Okay, now look, let's fast forward to adulthood.
Sure.
And you that was a quick move, right?
Man, I told you, I trust you so much, your expertise as an interviewer. I've listened to your podcast, and I'm like, wow, he's truly amazing. I like it.
Oh, thank you so much. Don't give it. No. Anyway, now, you have a Bachelor of Science degree in Organizational Management and Development from Bluefield College. 2 questions, Tanya.
Sure.
First of all, why that major?
Exactly.
And where is Bluefield?
Man, Bluefield is in the mountains. Like, I think it's even past Roanoke, Virginia. It's in Virginia, first of all.
Yeah.
And it's in the mountains. I think it's like in the tip or something. And,
Okay.
to be real with you, I've never been to the campus because at that time, they were having satellite courses and they bought so they bought the program to Richmond. And I think it had like 3 other locations or something. And it was great. It was an awesome experience.
Wow. Okay.
And to your next part, why? I had already had an associate's in legal assisting and had every intention, and I did, using that as a court advocate. And, I knew I was going to use it in family court or something to that effect with, victims of violence. And I got to do that. One of the frustrating things when you're working in nonprofits, I felt like I needed to know more about management, how things work.
Right.
The degree that I have teaches you about people and how to manage people, and that people are the greatest assets of corporations, nonprofits, whatever you're trying to do. If you get together people to pick up trash, your greatest asset is not the machines and everything that you buy and all that other stuff. It ain't even the weather. It's the people. Right. So, it put value on people, and that really spoke to me. So I was like, okay, I'm going to learn how to do this management and all of this with an emphasis on what I care about most, people.
Right.
So I was like, perfect. And it was perfect.
Well, question for you. Is that a lot like organizational communications?
Kind of. Organizational, kind of. It really gets into people. Like I said, people as an asset. When you come in and you look at, for instance, if you're doing diversity and inclusion, as someone calls you in for that, you're going to be talking with the people to see what their needs are. And you're going to be going in to see what needs to happen to make this feel like a more inclusive place for everyone.
Okay.
And how to attract those kind of people too. How do you attract, great folks and they want to stay with you.
Right. And that's so important. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I guess my thinking, I was seeing, when you work in nonprofit, you see a lot about monies and this type of, always a need for money. But I definitely wanted to talk about the people. How can we prevent people from having burnout? And how can we meet their needs? And how can we get the best out of people? But also at the same time, they win too. Win-win situation. How do we set that up? How do we make that happen?
I mean, because without people, what do you have?
Exactly. And that's what the communication with, owners or business owners is about. It's really all about these folk. That's where that's your greatest asset right there. These folk.
Exactly. Okay, Tanya, if you feel comfortable,
sure,
I would like you to talk about your experience. But right before you do, let me just tell the audience what domestic violence, abuse, sexual violence, and intimate partner violence and abuse, which is domestic violence and abuse within the LGBTQ.
Very important.
Within the LGBT community means and it's all about. Okay. The National Coalition of Anti-Violence Programs defines it as, and I quote, a pattern of behaviors utilized by one partner, the abuser or batterer, to exert and maintain control over another person, being the survivor or the victim, where there exists an intimate, loving, independent relationship, end quote.
I love that definition.
Pretty much,
yes.
Is that pretty much
target. On target, because I think, we've gone through some growing pains trying to get a definition that I guess, I don't want to overuse the word inclusive, but was just, let's just say embraced everyone's experience. Right. Yes, that fits to me. Yes, it does.
Okay, so I'm going to give you the floor.
Sure.
And would you talk about your experience?
Sure. My experience, unfortunately, involves several perpetrators. It started when I was young. I just did a recording about the first gentleman, and I think I usually refer to him as Max. I was assaulted in elementary school by how we have play cousins or, what have you. Right. And they're just kind of in the family. And Max was a teenager and he was a foster child. And I think he had his own issues. And so, Max preyed on me, a little girl. He preyed on me. Yes, he did. And that prepped me, I think. And what I mean by prep is, therefore, I had more vulnerable. I can never say this word. I was more at risk, like we know, like the stats tell us. I was therefore more at risk. Yes,
more susceptible.
Thank you so much. Yes, to experiencing more violence, and I did. And so there, unfortunately, my mother had a boyfriend, live-in boyfriend, and I was sexually assaulted for years there. And then she married a gentleman, and I was sexually assaulted by him as well. And so all of this lasted like from elementary school till 13 years old. And when I was 13, I don't know what changed. It's so interesting. I don't mean to chuckle, but it's just that I started writing a lot round about that time. And I don't know, it was something about that writing that, here we go, the voice. It was something about that made me feel like I have to say something because I was on the verge of suicide.
Right.
And in fact...
Oh, no.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not unlike many people who have experienced childhood sexual abuse. And we often get to that point. So, I only say it not to sensationalize. I actually say it to make it to let everybody, it's normal, guys. Unfortunately, normal for this abnormal experience that people will have these experiences. And that's why, prevention is so important. But also that's why, healing resources are important too. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And if you are silent.
Yes.
See, that's, like I said, that's the most, silence is the most potent weapon in the abuser's arsenal.
There it is. Because the silence, the fact that I didn't feel able to tell people for years, it just kept it going. And, my mother still cries about it. And as does, my aunt and others, because they asked me. But I didn't feel safe to say anything.
Right.
So, yeah. So around 13, I had tried all the suicide things that I thought would work, and they didn't. So at that point, I reached out to a relative and my grandmother, in fact, and I was hysterical. And I just kept telling her, I can't do this anymore. And I revealed it. And when I said it, it felt so easy, but my gosh, that thing felt like it weighed 10 tons all the way until I got to that time. And then I went to counseling, and, I've been off and on in counseling because I believe in mental wellness. I have been I believe in it. I believe if I sneeze and get a cold or whatever, I'm going to the doctor. So if I feel something, out of sorts or something, I am going to a therapist. So, so I've been in therapy on and off since the age of 13, really.
Well, you know what? Let me tell you something. Let me say this before you continue on.
Sure.
I am a strong proponent, advocate for therapy.
Me too.
I've had it. I've had it. It's helped.
Yep. I'll go again.
And again. And again. Sometimes
I'll be 90-something. If I need it, I'm going.
And sometimes I look forward to laying on the couch to talk.
Yes.
Because, Tanya, here's my analogy. Let's say you broke your arm, right?
Thank you.
You're not going to treat it yourself. You're going to go to the doctor.
Thank you.
He or she will give you pain meds, maybe put you in a cast.
Yes.
So the mind your emotions are the same way. It doesn't mean you're crazy. It just means you need some help.
Yes, you do. And you know what? Why I love that you took the time to make that analogy, because listen, I'm talking confidently now, but it doesn't mean a month from now I may feel something out of sorts and need to hear that, because, and need to be, I guess sometimes we use the lingo, checked, and need for someone to say, listen, why are you wasting time? Why are you delaying this? You could be, and give me that metaphor. So I say, you know what, you're right.
Yeah.
I just want people to know that the healing process, what do we say it is? Non-linear, I think we say. And that it's not always up, 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 up. It's not. And I say that because sometimes when I've talked to folks, people have talked about their family or their spouse or intimate partner who has this expectation, oh, you got it out. You've gone to therapy. We're on we're rising up from here. Slow down. It's a day to day to day. It can be anyway. And it can be, years of great days and then something happened. And that's okay.
Oh, before you continue, two important things I want to mention to the audience. Number one, sometimes you have to go from one therapist to the next before you find the one that's best suited for you.
Don't you? That's the hard part too, because you have no energy, and you're feeling down and all that. Now you got to get the energy to because and it's true. It's not a one size fits all thing. And so it's okay to go from one therapist to the next just to find the right fit for you at that time in your life. Because the therapist that worked for me at XYZ age may not work at this other stage. And that's okay.
Oh, and number two, and this is to Black folk. And I don't want any letters. I don't want any phone calls. I don't want to be tweeted. I don't want any Facebook.
It anyway.
Right, I'm going to ignore it. I don't want Facebook messages.
He's like,
I don't want
busy.
Instagram messages. Right.
I'm too busy for this.
I'm too busy for this. I will delete you. I will delete you.
He will.
You know me. You know what? Sometimes I enjoy deleting.
You're focused. You're so focused.
Right.
I admire that about you. You're very focused on on the work. You're very focused.
I will delete you in a heartbeat. But anyway, what I want to say is this. Black folks, some Black people, because I don't want to generalize, but some Black people think that their minister is the appropriate person. Now, he's not. Let me tell you why he's not. He is if he has a degree in psychology or psychiatry. Right. But if he doesn't have those degrees, he's not the person to get emotional, mental healing.
Right.
God put therapists on this planet for that. He gave them the knowledge.
Yes, he did.
So don't go to Reverend Franklin, who doesn't have a degree in psychiatry, psychology, and try to get some help.
And you make an excellent point, because there is this misunderstanding once you've experienced domestic violence, sexual violence, that all these motivational things all you need to do is be lifted up. And that's not true. Treatment is different.
Right.
It's different because there's a lot of damage that was done. And treatment is like taking you into almost into the surgeon, and, we're going to do some little outpatient. Okay, but we're going to do some work on you.
Right.
And that's different. People don't always need to be boosted, lifted, motivated, inspired. That's not the problem, because we can go in there fully amped up and feel horrible. And I just like to normalize these things so that people understand it's okay.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, please continue on with your story, your journey.
Okay, yes. So that was 13. And you know what? I got better. In fact, I was doing extracurricular in high school. I was captain of the flag team, marching band. Cool. I mean, I was in just about all the clubs, just about. Not, just about. I love, I became a joiner. I love being, I did great. And then 19, 17, somewhere in there, I hit a big wall. And so I say I say that to people to normalize it's okay for you to have been okay for a little while and then you didn't. I needed help to deal with now. How do I do the adult stuff? That was how to be a great, I had fun as a kid. Now, how do I'm about to be an adult. 19, I'm an adult. So I have responsibilities now. They expect things from me. And it ain't a homework assignment. So, it's money. So I want, I needed to kind of have a lot of help and support to navigate that. And that was that. And I will say this. One of the beautiful miracles of it was while I was getting that help, I saw the person who has inspired me to, all this speaking and voice and all of that and de-silencing was Marilyn Vanderburg, 1950 Miss America.
Really?
Yeah, right? Because I'm a Black girl in Petersburg. And I saw her in the paper and she looked, when I say divine and exquisite and statuesque, just in the picture that was advertising that she was speaking, it intimidated me because I thought, there's no way that she's going to be able to understand or connect. Her story can't possibly be like mine. Her blues ain't like mine. It can't possibly be. B.B. Moore Campbell. Her blues are not like mine. So I went and I tell people, I tell the story sometimes. I put on a hoodie. I don't even think that stuff was clean because I was so depressed. Right. And I put all that stuff on and I get it. Right. And I try to do this because, that's what works for other people. And I get that because that's what she did for me. Because when I went there and I'm sitting there and I literally had my arms crossed for the beginning of the talk. Because something told me to go and I'm glad I did. And she spoke with such realness and authenticity. And she was raised, very differently from me. Upper middle class. Her dad, I think, was a millionaire. And no one wanted her to speak out about what was going on. And she too went through this non-linear healing thing. And as I sat there, I was not sure that I wasn't sure I would heal. I didn't know what, I was pretty hopeless. I was in that state of depression. But I did think this, if ever I make it out of this crap that I'm in, if ever I make it out of this ditch, I'm going to speak up in the hopes that somebody will hear it and they too will be able to maybe take another step forward because she was amazingly impactful. Amazing. Just because she got up there and she spoke truth. That's it. Plain truth. And, she was like, hey, I take medication and I do this. And, she kept it real. As a matter of fact, at the end, she did something that I love. She took off her high heels because she still looked exquisite and statuesque and well-deserving of being Miss America. And she took them heels off and in her stocking feet, because she do wear she wears her stockings now. She's, like I said, exquisite. She wore her stockings and in her stocking feet, she said, you all make a line. And if you want to come up to me and talk, have a little short chit chat, we say hi, we give each other an affirmative of whatever, a hug. And give each other a hug. And she did that. And I got in the line and I don't do that kind of stuff, because I'm usually like, great, I'm out, it's over, I'm out. And so I'm an introvert. And so I got in line and I did chat with her and I hugged her and wow. And that's, when people say, why do you speak? It's that. Because it taught me that once you get to the other side or at least close, over the fence, at least, you ain't in the field, but maybe you got over the fence. Please speak and speak truth because it does help other people.
It does.
It does. It's not about you. It's just, heal yourself so you can go ahead and talk to the folks and help other people heal.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
Now she took off her shoes,
she
right?
She sure did.
Listen, Well, my question is this. Is she Patti LaBelle's sister?
Right? I didn't think about that. See, now we done discovered the code. We cracked the code.
Is she Patti LaBelle's sister?
Right. When you go get up there and people going, really feel it. I mean, get taken on a journey. It must be taking off them shoes. That's what it is. No, I just go speak and take off my shoes. I've never done that. But watch me. You be like, we'll take these shoes off. Because I think that's the code. She did.
Well.
Oh my gosh, I didn't draw that. I didn't draw that comparison. But it was just like that.
Right.
It was just,
right.
I mean, and still just like Pat. Oh, and Pat, yes, the two of them both exquisite and I mean, beautiful. Statuette, I mean, everything you can think, just gorgeous from cell to cell. Really. Just like that. Both of them. And yet they take them shoes off and they are so humble and so welcoming and so authentic and genuine. And man, ever since, I think it was 1920, I don't know. But when I saw her, I thought, I don't know if I'm going to get to the other side of this little depression I'm going through right now. But if I ever do, I'm going to use my voice.
Well, let me ask you a serious question.
Sure.
And if you don't want to answer it, Tanya, you really don't have to.
Sure.
In your adult intimate relationships, was there any abuse of any kind?
I don't speak of it often because I spoke of it one time and it just didn't feel comfortable. But yes, there was some. Yeah. Okay. But no, I'm willing to be open. Yes, there was. And, with particularly one partner, yes, there was. And disappointingly so. And quite a bit of it, in fact. And in fact, like I said, keep it real. I had just started my advocacy when this was going on. So here I was, doing this advocacy. Now, it wasn't a long time, but months. Here I was doing that. And honestly, that informed me that, it made me think, could it possibly be that what you're in is not healthy? Right. It's not healthy for you. And yeah. So yeah, that ended quickly. But like I said, yeah, it can be just that way.
Well, briefly about myself,
Sure.
I've always had a self-esteem issue.
Gotcha.
And growing up, and I was really conflicted about my sexual orientation. So when I got into my first relationship, which was the abusive relationship.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, thank you. My partner was like a shark in the water, smelling the blood in the water.
Oh my gosh, yes. Can't they pick that stuff up? When you have the low self-esteem, that's it.
Yeah, and see, there are three components of all of domestic violence and abuse and intimate partner violence and abuse. You've got the mental, you've got the emotional, and those are synergistic, and then you have the physical. Yes, and in my situation, it was 90% physical, 90% emotional, mental. And the emotional scars can be longer lasting than the physical.
Yes, they can. That's extremely damaging. I'm sorry, because that's using, people don't think about it. That's using methods synonymous to when we talk about someone who's been kidnapped and tortured. Right. No, they didn't touch them and do all that. But when you really listen to people and you hear, oh, but that was so much, wow, they really pierced, the psyche.
Right.
Wow. Yeah, they really, and I agree with you with shark in the water because that's a point I need to make, that when I was first abused as in elementary school, then like you said, that rips away your self-esteem, your sense of self, and you have all this doubt and shame and constantly questioning yourself. And people who prey on folks like that can pick it up. They can pick it up.
They can pick it up.
Yes, they can.
I want to thank you for sharing your story, Tanya. You know, we have 2 parts. We've got another part to do.
Yeah.
So will you come back?
Man, I will be here before you are here.
Listen.
I enjoy talking with you all the time, anytime.
Well, you know, as Arnold Schwarzenegger would say, you'll be back. You'll be back.
Oh, you know who I love when they say that? Vanessa Williams.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Right? When she says it, I'm like, oh, my God. I like it better the way he says it. She's such a fantastic actress, by the way. And by the way, she, too, is a survivor. And I can't even get through her memoir because I love so much. Wow. It's so hard to read. Right? I have the book, so you can borrow it anytime. But it's hard to get through it because I like her so much. You know, I admire her. And it's hard to read about her being hurt. But, yeah. She's a survivor as well. So, yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay,
go ahead. I love shouting out survivors because I think a lot of that's the guiding light sometimes when you're in the darkness. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Oh, now in part 2, we're going to talk about what domestic violence, abuse, sexual violence, and intimate partner violence and abuse means. We're going to get into the warning signs.
Yes, let's do.
The syndrome. Can abusers really control their behavior? And you know they can, but we're going to talk about that anyway.
Let's talk about them. We're going to talk about them people.
We're going to talk about the mothers.
Yes, we are.
They know, look, they know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing. And let me just say, too, WeSurviveAbuse.com is a platform that is, like I said, I stay in my lane with stuff. But if you have another lane that's your expertise, please feel free to get in contact with me.
Cool. Mm-hmm. I was going to say something else, but I forgot. But let me ask you this.
Sorry.
Oh, no. Mm-hmm. I just got thoughts racing. Okay, now look, how do us grown folk contact you, Tanya, connect with you, give us the website addresses of your platforms. Okay. I want your Instagram. I want your Facebook. I want it all.
Okay. The email address, which is, oh my gosh, y'all are really emailing. It's info@wesurviveabuse.com. The website is wesurviveabuse.com. However, I ended up opening up another website, survivoraffirmations.com, because some survivors contacted me saying, listen, I don't want to hear all that depressing and gloom and doom stuff. I'm on the part of my healing journey where I need to hear just uplifting stuff only.
Right.
And so I said, you know what? I'm going to start this little side blog, Survivor Affirmations. And you all can go there and hear the uplifting things, and you don't have to hear this other stuff if you don't want to. And it's not like I do always have gloom and doom, but I get it. One thing might be the trigger for your bad day. I get it. Mm-hmm. And bravetheladder.org. Now, Brave the Ladder is important to me because it encourages people to donate ethnic hair products to domestic violence shelters, crisis centers, and homeless shelters, because there's a whole story on there about how it started, the impetus for it. But basically, recognizing that our hair care, listen, black hair is precious and fine and divine. And it, the products that are available are quite expensive. Sometimes the 99-cent bottle of something is just not going to do so well on this fine texture that we have. Mm-hmm. So it's a wonderful texture, kinky, coily, everything. So it is. I'm speaking your language now. I know.
Listen. As Whoopi Goldberg would say,
I knew I was speaking your language. I love that about you, though. He's so cool, y'all. He is so cool. So anyway,
oh yeah.
I knew it. I was like, but that's all right. That's all right. So anyway, yes, I said kinky and coily hair. Right. I said yes. So that kind of hair requires, things like what do I use? Like the coconut oil, organic coconut oils and things like that. That are not always cheap or certain type of shampoo and that. And so I just want people to please, we have lots of different folk walking around with that type of hair that have needs. Please donate those type of items, please.
Got it. Okay, my listeners, let me get serious for a moment here because I want to say this.
Yes.
If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, abuse, sexual violence, or intimate partner violence and abuse, please call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. Again, that's 1-800-799-7233. You can also call the Gay Men's Domestic Violence Project Hotline, and that's 1-800-832-1901. Again, 1-800-832-1901. And again, visit Tanya's influential platform, WeSurviveAbuse.com. And you can go to my online home, WyattEvans.com.
Yes. Great. Your site is beautiful.
Yes, which has a special IPVA section with resources. Yeah, you know
Very necessary.
You know what?
Yeah.
I put some ducats into that website, baby.
You did, and it shows. What do we say about exquisite and divine? It shows.
Well, you know what?
Because you know something about that.
you know what? I want to tell you this before we go for now. I thought I already loved you a great deal, but now I know I loves you even more.
I know. Embrace. Hugs and love, for real. Hugs and love.
Well, listen, Tanya, thank you so much for being part of part 1. We will see you again soon.
Thank you. Bye.
So there you have it. You can find the official Wyatt podcast page on WyattEvans.com. The official hashtag is Wyatt on Air. If you want to be a guest on Wyatt or just have comments, feedbacks, whatever, email me at WyattOnAir@gmail.com. And you can follow me, Wyatt O'Brien Evans, your host, on Facebook.com/Wyatt O'Brien Evans, on Twitter at Mr. Woe, MISTERWOE, and on Instagram at Mr. Wyatt O, MRWYATTO. And be sure to check out my Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels, the latest being Frenzy. Yes, Frenzy. And its predecessor, Rage, all at WyattEvans.com. So until next time, y'all, be good to yourselves, be good to each other. I'll be back at you soon.